Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. So today I'm back from doing all my exams and it's been a very stressful week, but I'm glad that it's all over and now I don't have to worry about exams for about 2 months, so that's great. So anyway, today we are going to be looking at something that's extremely powerful, and that is what I like to call the super shotgun cannon. So essentially what a shotgun cannon is it has actually nothing to do with a shotgun. But what it does is it fires a huge bunch of TNT, like an absolutely large amount of TNT into a confined space, and then it fires it out at really far, and then it explodes in a giant mesh. So what we have here is we've got our little module at the back which compresses all the TNT into one point and then fires it off, and we've got this little like zigzag sort of style of repeaters, so that way we can actually power all the dispensers without butting any of them. And we've got a comparator clock so it can make an absolute huge amount of TNT, and then at the bottom we've got this little piston system that makes the barrel one wide, so that way it can fire out in a deadly straight line, and that way the TNT will then explode on the giant ball at the very end. So this thing is extremely long range thanks to this, and extremely accurate. So the only practical use for this is if you're trying to take out a base in factions, if you want to get really long range and they just have some sort of floating island or something, but they have like 20 chunks of land. It's really useful for that. But apart from that, it's really just a fun cannon. So anyway, let's take a look at this thing in action. So what we have here is just a 30 by 30 by 15 giant block of iron, and it's absolutely huge, just so we can show off this cannon over here. So this thing is a massive 100 blocks away, or 6.5 chunks away from the actual cannon, so we can get a good representation of the range. So if we come over here, we can see the giant cannon that we have here all set up, and if we come around the back, we can see we have everything set up, and if we press the button, TNT at the back gets fired, TNT here fires, and then a huge amount of TNT there fires, followed by a slab, and then it fires in a giant ball over there. Probably didn't show it that well, but what happened was before it fired, this thing covered it up, and then all the TNT would be laying in this little area here, so that way it could just fire out over and make this giant hole, and it is in line with the cannon as well, and it is just an absolutely massive hole, and it's crazy to think that thing over there actually did all this. And also, iron is a really dense material, so if this was something like dirt and stone or cobblestone, it would cause a lot more damage. So as you can see, this thing is quite the power puncher, and it just caused a lot of damage. But anyway, let's get on to explaining how this works. Okay, so now that we've seen this thing in action, let's get on to the bare bones of this machine and explain how it works. So what we have is, at the back we have got ourselves a wooden button which goes off and activates several redstone, which goes off into several directions. The first thing it does is activate this chain of dispensers, which is these and these. So if this mechanism looks familiar, it's because I use it with my compressor cannons and quite a few of my other cannons, and what it fundamentally does is it fires off these dispensers first, and then a tick later, or however long later, it fires off these dispensers. So what this allows it to do is, actually after this is fired, this will fire off before this one. So what it allows it to do is this will fire off, which will push all the propellant all the way down to that slab over there, and then this will be hunched up against it here and fire off into the distance. So what this allows it to do is, since it's closer to the actual TNT, it will fire it longer, which is a very simple mechanism that works really well. And also, if you're wondering why this is 2 high instead of 1 high, that's because it is slightly bigger, because this is slightly longer. It's 6 across, so we get more range just because this is a long range machine, as you can see by the damage that we did over there. Also, this is not limited to 100 blocks, it can go practically infinitely. You just have to change the timing in that, and if you want it to have even more range, you can just add more dispensers. But anyway, on from that, we have got this little thing that goes along the side here, which we'll go over soon. But before that, we have got this little line of redstone that goes along to our comparator clock, which is a little bit different to the normal style of clock that I do. So what a comparator clock is, it is pretty much just an infinite one-tick pulse. So every tick it'll fire out a pulse, which means technically we can fire off each dispenser 15 times before it actually goes off. That is not the case because of these repeaters, which we'll get back into in a sec, but we just have our wooden button which fires off 15 ticks before it actually goes off. So the reason we actually have these repeaters set to 4 ticks instead of 1 tick is because of a budding problem in factions at the moment, so that's the only reason it's on 4, or else this 4 tick thing would be 4 ticks and these would be 1. So anyway, the only reason that this repeater is here is so if you want the TNT to fire off earlier, if you get rid of them, replace it with redstone, it'll fire off closer to this actual machine, and if you make it later, it'll fire off later, so it'll be longer range. So ideally you want to get it timed so it fires just as it hits the thing or slightly after it hits the thing, which I think I've done relatively well for this. So after it goes through here, it goes into this sort of zigzag pattern, which is just a giant area that allows it to activate all these dispensers, and that is because if anyone's seen my original most destructive TNT Cannon video, I had it where everything was lined along, and I couldn't actually have it being really small, and that's because if you have it alongside, it'll have bud powered in vanilla. So what you have to do is you have to create that sort of like rigid thing. Yeah, I wasn't very good back then. I've changed a lot. So anyway, my new one has the same concept and it's just a lot smaller, which allows it to activate all these, and that's why we do not have any dispensers here or here. So after that, we've then got this little piston mechanism here, which takes up a lot of space, which allows us not to have dispensers here, here, or at the bottom, and I just destroyed a slab. Oh well. So anyway, what happens is this pushes across, which will create a barrier along here, so all the TNT will be in this 1.5 gap, which will compress it a lot, because that way it can't fire upwards, it can only fire straight. So that's why it's super straight and accurate, and since there's a lot of propellant, it'll just fire really far forward at a really long range. So that's pretty much how this works. So anyway, now onto the tutorial. So now onto the tutorial. So you're going to need this weird shape here, which is actually 8 by 14. So that's just a brief representation of what you need in case you want the exact dimensions. But anyway, what you're going to need is some building blocks, some slabs, 86 dispensers, 64 redstone, 45 repeaters, a comparator, 4 sticky pistons, water source block, and a wooden button. Has to be wooden. So the first one we're going to build is the little compartment, which is dead center, which is going to be your main cannon. So we won't be placing down any redstone other than dispensers for here. So the first thing you want to do is place down your 4 slabs, followed by blocks around it so you can have the height thing. Next thing you want to do is place down an extra set of blocks like so, and this is where our piston's going to be going, so you want to just place some blocks underneath it so you can place your dispensers, pistons, then you can place blocks on top of it and in front of it like so. Next we're going to make a 6 high row of dispensers like so, which is just going to be going 6 high, and then you're going to want 2 on top. So if I could actually do this right, that'd be great. So it'll look something like this. Then you want to place one here and here on the top, and then you just want this other side to be dispensered, mirrored on this side. So I'll do that before the next cut. The next thing you want to do is place down some blocks here, followed by some dispensers, a 2x6 area of dispensers along the side like so, and then you just want to mirror it on the other side. So this will be your main propellant for your actual dispensers. After that, you want to place down 2 more blocks like so. Then you want to come around the back and place down dispensers around you like so. So your thing should look something like this. So now that we've done this, what you want to do first is actually place down your water like here, and now we're going to be doing most of the redstone. So what you want to do is place some blocks around the back here, followed by a temporary block there with a block above it. This is where your button's going to be. You can place it on any side, but anyway, next thing you want to do is place down 5 redstone like this, followed by a repeater here and here. Then you want some redstone going along here, along all the dispensers on both sides, and that's going to be powering this little mechanism here. Next thing we're going to be doing is adding some foundation here so we can actually power all of these pistons. So after you've done that, it should look something like this. Then you want to get your redstone paste here, followed by a ton of repeaters all set to 4 ticks delay, which will go into a block here, which will also be set to another repeater here, and followed by 4 repeaters here with redstone behind them and a block here. So these, also remember, all these repeaters will be set to 4 ticks delay as well. So what we're going to be building now is the actual foundation for this thing. So what you want to do is you want to come up to the very top here and place some blocks like here, and then you want to zigzag all the way down, so you want all the blocks to be like so, and then you want to behind there place slabs, upside down half slabs, and the reason for this is so when you place redstone on top of them, they will then be able to power the redstone above it. After that, you can want to fill in all of these little slots here with redstone repeaters, and you want to repeat this all the way down and on the other side. So now that you've done all this, there's a few things you want to do. The first thing being you want to change these blocks here to actually being solid blocks, because that way the redstone can go over here, and then you want to do the same thing on the other side with the bottom blocks. So then after that we can actually continue. So what we're going to do now is create the thing that connects this up to here and adding in the comparator clock. So what you want to do is create a giant line of blocks going from the thing all the way up to here, and then you want to place redstone going all the way along the back, and you want your comparator to be here followed by redstone here, a redstone repeater here. So after that you can then create the thing that will create the comparator clock and right click it, and now you just want to bring your redstone over here. So this is where our input's going to be, so now we just want to bring down our redstone. Also, one thing you may or may not have noticed, I've actually made this one higher, so this pattern down here is slightly different. So what you want to do is then place your repeater, set to full text delay, connect the redstone up, and now we want to create an input here, which is going to be along here. So what you want to do is put a redstone repeater set to full text delay, followed by your redstone connecting up. So now what we want to do is fill up all your dispensers with TNT, which can be a hassle, I know it was for me. And you are completely done, and you have now got yourself a working shotgun cannon, or super shotgun cannon. So be proud, because you're going to make a lot of people miserable with this thing. But anyway, hope you guys did enjoy this video, and goodbye from TNT Madness.